Broadcasting from the Philly Cam studio in Center City, Philadelphia on 106.5 FM.
Welcome, World Sports Show. Charlie Flo here, live on WPPM, LP Philadelphia, here with John Acrisio on a cool, crisp December the 12th evening. How you doing tonight, John?
Doing very good. Good night.
Really, really good night. Isn't as cold as it's been all weekend. A little rainy, cold day, but a lot of soccer to talk about. Very exciting past weekend soccer. It's one of those things where we walk out of the studio and news hits, so anything that happened from Tuesday until Sunday night, we're going to talk about.
Yeah, on my drive to the studio tonight, I saw a pickup game going on. Nice. The thermometer in my car said 39 degrees, nice and a little bit chilly. Still had an 11v11 going on.
The upside is when it goes below 32 and it's freezing, then a lot of these cruddy turf surfaces, well, I shouldn't say turf because there's not a lot of turf surfaces in Philadelphia.
Mud, baby.
Yeah. The mud becomes frozen. When you talk about a lot of these slippery, wet fields that the grass has now disappeared from, there's about maybe, three great blades of grass left that playing on dirt in the winter is not as bad because it freezes up.
Nah, the bad thing is it totally wrecks the field.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. But, I mean, what else you going to do?
Yeah.
You got to play, you got to play. Have a couple fields that you can play in all year round, and 11v11 under the lights.
And sometimes we have to move into the old indoor because you and I play a lot of futsal during the wintertime on basketball courts. So definitely a good time to get that going. And sometimes it's like a sauna. We were playing last night. Man, heat was cranking. Sometimes that's a good winter workout when we got the heat blasting and playing those confined spaces. Played 2 hours of 2v2 futsal last night.
Got to use your resources.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot to talk about. We're going to go through a quick news brief on what we'll be talking about and what's going on, and then we'll break down later the trends, mailbag, and just basic Philadelphia soccer news. You know, the quick recap right now what's going on is the MLS Cup happened Saturday night. It's great to see it on the Fox network. Not a special channel that you have to pay extra for on your cable provider. It's something that comes over air, so everybody gets Fox. Toronto and Seattle. Seattle scoots through on a PK win, we'll break down that. College Cup final was the night before with Wake Forest and Stanford. Stanford goes through on, guess what? PKs.
Yeah, right.
That was the theme of the weekend. And we'll talk about tomorrow being the MLS expansion draft. MLS ended yesterday, but bang, tomorrow, expansion draft for Minnesota and Atlanta. That'll be joining the league in 2017. We'll break down some of the notable players. Our good friends at Junior Lone Star won a double over the weekend. They did a great thing, a very successful club, so good friends with them. So shout out to Lone Star for winning that. So definitely an exciting weekend, John. It was a lot to partake in, and like you said, it was the College Cup semifinals on Friday, and then the actual final on Sunday, MLS final Saturday, and then there's a lot of, Italian League, French League, German League, English League all mixed in there.
That's right. Too much to cover, so we pretty much break it down. We take some topics, and this way, towards the end of the show, we open up the mailbag, and people want to get specific and touch those topics. We also, when we have guests on, coaches, trainers, former players, you name it in soccer, they'll be happy to answer the questions as well. So fire it at the guests as well. Yeah,
if you're out there listening and you're a player, coach, or someone involved in the game, shoot us an email at mailbag@worldsportshow.com. We're booking in studio guests right now. We have a couple professional players we are working with right now, booking up their times. I know it's very hard in the holiday seasons. We're getting a lot of people, I got holiday plans. So come January, we'll be slam booked. But right now, December, we got a few guests that are working with their crazy work schedules because the realistic side of the women's soccer world, a lot of these players got to have jobs in the offseason. So they have that's every player that we've talked to on the women's professional side. I'm talking top-notch women players that play on the women's national team saying, I got to clear it up with my employer.
I mean, we're talking both sides, men as well. I mean, soccer, there is no off season.
No.
So you're either working a day job, you're working your soccer specific job, training, you name it.
Yeah, unfortunately, you and I don't make a living primarily just doing soccer, and that's the realistic side.
That's right.
That I think that's the neat part about soccer is if you're a soccer coach, you got a side hustle.
There you go.
Unless you're a designated player in the MLS, maybe. But still, I know a lot of MLS players that still have side jobs.
I mean, you're right. You're dead on.
I mean, especially as you got to set yourself up for your career down the road. Let's be honest, with a lot of professionals in the NFL, NBA, they can primarily retire on the income they've made in their league. But MLS players only making, a few thousand here and there, not making a lot of money. Realistically, they got to start setting themselves up being a trainer, physical therapist, working on that second career because their career is so short and they won't make enough money to live off the rest of their life.
Right. Especially, outside of soccer jobs.
Yeah.
What they go to college for.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's the thing is a lot of them went to school for something and then, you have such a short window that it's crazy to think at the age of 30, early 30s, unless you're a really just amazing player, that you really have to think about the long-term effects. That it's interesting to think that somebody in their 30s is getting into their careers, and you and I are closer to 40 than we are 30.
Closer to 40. just a touch, everybody.
I'm being generous, man.
Yeah, right.
You don't look 40.
Right. And also, real quick, not to go to the mailbag yet, but people out there wanted to, they're into the social media thing, so they listen on air, want to chime in. They wanted to, I guess, let's go live, live recording.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's we're in radio for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. I talked about us getting a little 4K camera action going on here in the studio and set it up, but you don't want to see John and I in high def.
No.
We're good in low def.
But yeah, we do talk, we like talking about production as well, in guest. It's a little bit going on behind the scenes on radio shows. I mean, getting it to sound right, getting everything tight it's a little bit tricky, but I mean,
I'm going to hold the selfie stick the whole show.
Hold the selfie stick.
Here, you hold the selfie stick. It's that automatic yellow carding time, the word selfie said on the show.
Yeah, right.
That's the penalty box, man. Like indoor soccer, you're in the sin bin.
That's right.
So, but big things that are trending. Like we said, the MLS Cup is trending. That's a big thing right now. And what an awesome way to now put the MLS Cup at the better seeded or better record team. They tried the experiment of putting the MLS Cup, in a neutral site, and I know they did that with the NWSL. I always think it's a mistake when you're having a sport that's growing, that if you have it at a home of a team that, for a championship, I mean, all other sports except the Super Bowl, you pretty much, they're multi-game series, but, let the fans, they earn that, they help push their team to getting that record. Why not treat them to a cup final in their own backyard?
Yeah, I mean, well, let's talk about it.
Let's do it. I
mean, you have a 6 seed and a 5 seed going in. So the 5 seed deserves the right to have a home field advantage?
Yeah, well, they had better than the 6 seed. Well, they earned their spot because they got there to the final.
Okay.
So they got themselves to the final. I mean, it's interesting to think that Toronto, the team that hosted, I mean, they were playing in the old knockout stage against Philadelphia a couple months ago. Beat them 3-2. So you're talking a couple bounces of the ball. They're not even in the final, but rightly so, they earn their spot. And I think it's for the growth of the game. It's better to have it instead of at a neutral site because you clinch your spot to get in a final. You might only have a few weeks' notice. I mean, there's not a lot of people out there that can just suddenly book a hotel, buy the tickets, get to that city on such a short notice. Well, if it's in your backyard and it's on a Saturday night, I mean, that's great for the home team. It gives you that extra boost of energy, to push your crowd. Didn't really work for the Toronto fans, but, I mean, it's good to have it, I think, that way when you're looking at a sport that's still growing in North America. Well, I should say North America, say Canada and U.S. It's already grown in Mexico, but, these two countries are countries that are still in the, I say, development stage of professional soccer, that you don't want to take anything away from the fans and you want to have every game sold out. When you start having these neutral field finals, you end up with an empty stadium.
Yeah, but here's my thing.
Okay.
As far as developing the game, I think it's growing at the rate of growing it is now. It's on the up, but I don't think that having it at the higher seed bracket is going to grow the game necessarily. I think growing the game might be stepping out and trying to target different audiences in different cities. I mean, the result of having it at the higher seed, you got it in Toronto in the middle of December.
Yeah.
Therefore, you got a 0-0 game going into penalty kicks, in which the reviews of the soccer fan, which you're trying to rope in, who I would say majority of the MLS targeted fans are fans of English Premiership and Messi and La Liga. I think that it was kind of a turnoff. You're getting a 0-0 in the PKs, but when a keeper wins an MVP, how much you're going to draw. I don't know if you would call it a step back, but I mean, you had a good performance, but the play, I think it was 0 on the field Celsius, a little bit under 32. Having a home field, will it draw? The production was great, but just that frozen atmosphere in Toronto, it's kind of a little bit much, and kind of sent mixed signals to the fan base. I got a lot of people who like the game, like for myself, I like the production, a little bit of quality, but you got pretty much your rookie of the year and your could have been golden boot winner if you didn't get hurt playing, and no goals. You got a team that won without getting a shot on net. Yeah,
that stat blew my mind. You and I were talking on the phone after the match, and it's just like you threw that stat at me, and I totally forgotten. Like, they didn't technically register a shot on goal.
Yeah, and it's a final.
It is weird to think that you can't tell a team to go score because they're not going to because based on the media or the league, but if you're trying to sell your league, man, a 3-4 or a 3-3 into OT would have been fine.
Right. I mean, the dramatics of a golden goal would have been great, even at the 0-0. But having fatigue be the decider is not the way that it's.
No, we had some related questions in the mailbag about that we're going to address. We had a lot of questions about that shootout and just all the shootouts over the weekend. I mean, the College Cup, one of the semifinals went to shootout. The other one was Wake Forest won in overtime, and then the final itself went to shootout. It just becomes I don't know. We'll break it down and more in depth of the actual shootouts in our mailbag. We have some really good mailbag questions to address that. So just I'm kind of disappointed because I don't like sitting that I've watched 3 hours of soccer to see some PKs guys score from 12 yards out. I want to see some guys score an 18-yarder or a 20-yard shot or a header off of a cross. Give me some entertainment value. To me, it almost kind of undermines your league. How many Champions League finals do we know that went 0-0? Right. I mean, there's been some 1-0s. There's been ones that went to PKs, but how did they get to the PKs? I mean, one of the famous PK ones was that AC Milan Liverpool game back in 2000 and that was like 5 or 4, something like that.
About that, yep.
Yeah, I mean, AC Milan's winning 3-0. That's the thing is you got the best of the best, and you can't find the back of the net.
That's right. I mean, I've been talking on the show for years saying that the home team should not get a point for a result point for a 0-0 draw.
Yeah.
And having a shootout at 0-0. But, people out there listening are probably like, man, why are these guys bell aching about, a final? But, I mean, this is for all the marbles here.
Yeah, I didn't pay, but I wouldn't pay big bucks to see nothing.
No.
I'd feel really sore if I was one of these neutral type of people that went to check out this. It's like you go to the Super Bowl and it's a 0-0 tie. What do you have, a field goal contest to end it?
Yeah. Basketball free throw competition to see who wins it. I get it.
Dude.
People are like, oh, it's not the same dynamic. I get it. But I mean,
it is.
We just want to see the drama, the dramatic finish,
Josie almost had it there at the end. I
mean, got to say, that was an amazing save.
Man. I mean, that's why you can't discount the keepers. They did their jobs, but it's the lack of offense that you play. You've been playing since March and April, and you can't find the back of the net. It's like it's one of those things where neither team deserves the MLS crown. Just go ahead and give it to somebody else. Go ahead and give it to Colorado or something.
Well, it's 30 degrees out, so
yeah.
I don't
think bit of factor.
They put their goal scoring boots on.
They couldn't have thrown it somewhere inside. I mean, that's what they did. Well, a lot of that was demand in Montreal why they had to throw it in the Olympic Stadium when they had one at 60,000. So I mean, they just really don't have the capabilities. I mean, you could use the dome that the Toronto Blue Jays use. So, but
make that money.
Yeah, exactly. So. Moving on, we're going to look at some of the European. They had their draw today. A very exciting day in soccer world was the final 16 draw for the UEFA Champions League that'll resume action on the 14th of February. So everybody out there that wants to make their plans for Valentine's Day, well, luckily Champions League games are over about 5 o'clock. So
yeah, it's a good thing. Get an early start on the East Coast time.
Yeah,
Eastern
2:45.
Standard
You
Time.
know, take the lady out, watch some Champions League, and then go out to dinner. If you got that kind of girl, I'm very happy for you. You know, not everybody out there is lucky enough to have two people that like the same sport.
I think about that time. It's maybe duck out of work a little bit early times. I don't know.
What are you going to use Valentine's Day excuse? I got to go pick up some roses for the wife, and then you're really going to the pub.
Hey, whatever happens.
Exactly. You sell roses at the pub. So the draw came out is Paris Saint-Germain, PSG, is going to be playing Barcelona. So that's a neat little, not too far from each other, wouldn't say local rivals, but yeah, I mean, you got two countries separated by just a few miles separating those two teams, or a few hours by train.
I mean, would you say two top 10 money teams in the world?
Yeah, PSG and Barcelona are two of the most recognizable brands in the world. And the other February 14th game will be Benfica and Dortmund out of Germany. So, Portuguese team and a German team.
Yeah. German team with the American
Yellow Submarine and
the
American player.
Young Christian Pulisic.
Yeah, let's hope he has an impact. You know, you've got to root for those teams. You know, there's a lot of teams that I like out there, but then there's teams that anytime they got an American on, you kind of automatically pay attention to those teams. Like a lot of people followed Everton for a while, or they followed Fulham because of Clint Dempsey, or like I said, Everton with Tim Howard. So those teams automatically are on the radar for us.
Hey, Swansea's getting some play now.
Yeah,
Bob Bradley.
dude, they're on. They have seemed like they're on CNBC every week now because of that. He's on every week. The last 3 weeks, they've had their games on live.
If it's the angle that they have to take, especially if it's a lower tier of the table game, I think.
Dude, I like those games. Those games have so much drama in them. It's not predictable.
It's not predictable. I mean, you talk to a soccer purist, and they'll tell you them bottom games, them relegation games, are going to be better games than the top five.
You want to see some guys playing for their jobs and lives and a club stake.
It's a lot of money. That's a lot of money at risk there.
You stay in the league one more year. That can just like a Leicester. You stay in, you have a shot. You fall down, it could be a downward spiral where you find yourself in Division 3 or third division team 2 years from now, and you're just in recovery, man. Ask Leeds United about that.
That's right.
You know, teams that just never recovered. We've got Real Madrid will be taking on Napoli on the 15th of February. That's a Wednesday, 2:45 local time. And Bayern Munich will be taking on Arsenal. Happened last year. That would end up being a classic two-leg series. So we'll see how that all folds out. And then you have Leverkusen will be playing Atletico Madrid on the 21st of February. And Manchester City will be playing Monaco out of the French League. They'll be playing on also February 21st. And then we move the calendar up to the next day, the 22nd of February. Porto out of Portugal will be playing Juve out of Italy. And then Sevilla from Spain will be playing Leicester City, a team that's struggling in the EPL, won the league last year, but having success in Europe.
That's right. That is right.
So that is your trending topic so far. We've got other trending topics. The soccer college semifinals were Friday night, followed up by a final yesterday on the good old ESPNU, or you're streamed on your ESPN apps. You and I have been having a lot of fun watching these games. It's interesting because everybody talks about the March Madness, man. I call it November, December Madness, because you literally have as big of a bracket as the NCAA basketball tournament, but with soccer.
It's good stuff, especially now. We talk about this a lot. Is everybody, or I'd say most people now, have a smart TV.
Yeah,
with the app, it's very accessible. You go into a restaurant, pop it on. People watch it on their phone, tablet. So a lot of these games have an app from the station provider, and it's just easy to watch, and it's
been great.
Simple.
It's so accessible, So you had the doubleheader on Friday.
But my problem is, before we go, everybody listening out there, I'm a production guy. I like seeing good production. That's why I give the MLS production a final. I gave it high marks.
Yeah,
cameras, quality, clarity. The broadcasters were on point, but even it's the College Cup, then they got the accessibility now that people are watching it and they're broadcasting on these high platforms with the good video. I mean, they got to get a little bit more production work in there. I see they hired it out this year, but it's still not up to par. I mean, I'm watching it, I'm like, there's a lot that I'm missing.
Yep.
It didn't draw me into the game as much as I'd like to, so I want to see that stepped up.
Yeah. I mean, the quality plays there. Friday night they had the first game. You had Wake Forest playing Denver, ended up being a 2-1. Wake Forest won 2-1 OT, so happy, my parents' alma mater, see them go through to the final. Second game was UNC and Stanford. 0-0 went to PKs. The only thing that changed, everybody made their PK except the last kicker. I cannot think of his name right now, but for UNC, skied it over the bar. And to me, it's tough that every single player except one made it. So you had a final in PKs 10-9. I mean, that is insane.
Well, this is my thing. Skying it over the bar. Asking a soccer coach, why would you go high on a PK?
Yeah.
When I train my kids, my high school, whoever I train it, and I see it at just about every level. You put 2 cones in the corner, hit it on the ground low and further.
Keeper ain't
The
getting
reason
it.
being, the keeper, it's tougher to keeper to get low. I mean, up high, you got a chance to jump up and get a punch on it, a finger.
Yeah.
Low, you got that extra split second to get down. So even a missed, I'd say, precision, low shot to the side is harder to get than the same size, elevated a little bit. So
Just, too many things can go wrong.
Was it the chess match or was it just a shank?
I mean, he tried to go, I think, down the middle high and just right over the bar.
I mean, down the middle high.
Yeah, down the middle high.
Hey, I tell you what.
If you pull it off, cheeky man.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, in a final, it takes guts to go up the middle
Yeah.
on a penalty kick, but he suffered the wrath.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so many different strategies, even taking PKs, because you and I saw a lot of PK action in the actual Cup final. Stanford goes through on PKs to play Wake Forest, and then it comes down to PKs. It was interesting that the Stanford keeper kept going to his left, going to his left, going to his left until the final shot Wake Forest had to hit to keep it tied, and he went to the right. It's just interesting that every single time he only made 2 saves, but he went to the left every single time until the last one he went to the right and saved it. It's just interesting. It's that psychological. You and I both coach a lot of keepers that I've seen keepers do that. You just continuously go to one side, and then right when it comes down to sudden death, because you're in sudden death PKs.
Right. And going back to the MLS Cup, the penalty kicks, it looked like Stephen Frey was given the old, the double.
The leaner. Yeah, he'd give him space.
Like almost a double pump with the arm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just to actually, the theory behind that is just to get when the penalty kick taker is, looking at the ball, looking at the net, trying to go up in size where he's going to go. It's actually just to get that 1 inch of miss kick.
Yeah.
Just to, it's a flinch. Get that 1
Or read
inch.
them, just trying to read their body language that they make them start changing their decisions through their walk up.
Exactly.
Or run up or whatever you want to call it.
And from what I've learned from my experience with goalkeepers, there's a lot of psychology that goes behind a penalty kick, and it's basically you're playing poker with the shooter. There's a lot of tells that some of the non-professional to say shooters have, like once the shooter puts the ball down 12 yards away and they take the steps back, the first step back is a tell. Looking at the just how far back it's a tell. It's basically poker.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that go into it. I've been on the end of being the keeper side. I've actually never been on the end as a shooter. I've only been on the keeper end, and it is tough that I sometimes I make a quick guess before they shoot. Like right when they line up, before they've kicked it, before they approach, I've already made my mind up. I'm going right, left, or I'm staying. And no matter what their body language tells me on the run-up, I never read into that. I've already made my mind up because of what I tried to read. They're going right or left. I mean, it has worked for me sometimes, and sometimes it hasn't.
I mean, if you want to know about my goalkeeping experience, I usually go to the side that's not hurting. Usually one side I have just from flopping around on the ground.
So if you and I ever become in a situation where in PKs, I'm just going to kind of look like, hey, Johnny's right hip's bother him a little bit. Go left.
If I got a brace on the right, I'm going left.
No, but it's interesting because it's a situation where the goalkeeper's supposed to fail. All the pressure's on the kicker. And you come up and make one save out of those 5. Mathematically, you got a pretty good chance that either you're forcing sudden death PKs or you've won.
Or as your teacher would say in college, he has a 50-50 chance.
Yeah, exactly. Good old stats chance. Yeah,
right.
Well, he has nah, buddy. I throw a nickel to the ocean. It's got a good chance it's going to hit the ocean.
Right. There's possibly a definite scenario there.
Yeah. Well, the coin may land on its side. It's not a 50-50 chance. It's going to be heads or tails. God, can you imagine that? I think we've seen that happen sometimes in different sporting events where the blades of grass are long enough where the coin will just go right down the middle.
That's funny.
It's like side. Did you imagine a guy calling that heads or tails? Side. Well, that was a discussion last night. It wasn't in the mailbag, but it came a good discussion of futsal last night is Let me ask you, John, if you're a coach, I'm gonna mailbag you before the mailbag. If that's appropriate. What do you decide if you're the captain or you're the head coach that you got the old towing cost? Do you prefer to shoot first or shoot last?
I decide to. Well, first of all, it depends on your team. Do I have good penalty kick takers?
Or you have a stud keeper, you know?
Then it depends on my goalie. But, home field advantage, always go last. Finish it.
I like going shooting first.
Shooting first?
I like shooting first. That's me.
It depends on your team.
Yep, exactly. Well, I'm looking at the ideal team.
There's reasons why I wouldn't have them go, but,
I do like the idea of college soccer that you can use everybody that's suited up to shoot. You don't have to go in the order of players on the field and then just rotating through that. Like we see in the professional ranks when it comes down to the 10th and 8th or 9th or 10th shooter, you're getting a goalkeeper in there.
Yeah, you're getting defenders.
But I like that in a college level because it is a development sport that you've got a guy or a gal that is so good at PKs that it comes down to us, hey, you didn't play, but you can put this bad boy in the back of the net. Fresh legs.
Might even be the backup keeper. They pretty much take more PKs tuned in the other keeper to start her up than most players.
Yeah, so, that's definitely something to really break down to the whole art and science of PKs and the psychological side of it. So we want to look our page to some other trending topics. The MLS expansion draft is going to be tomorrow. You have Atlanta and Minnesota will be entering the league. So some interesting names made the list. The expansion draft will be tomorrow, December the 13th at 2 p.m. So tune in on the internet. Some notable names for the Union, players that aren't protected: Brian Carroll, Maurice Adu, Ken Tribbett, and Ray Gaddis. Those are all household names here in Philadelphia. I think if any one of those four get picked up, it's not going to hurt the Union or affect them long term.
I'd say no.
No, you have Brian Carroll, former captain, been around the block quite a few times, but his gas tank is getting near E right now. Definitely getting the end of his career. Will the team pick him up? I think it might not be that bad of a pick because he's a veteran guy, but I don't see him getting picked.
I think out of the bunch, I can see him getting picked if any of the Union players do get picked. Or,
it would be him.
Maybe a Ray Gaddis if a team's trying to build from the back. Actually, they're all but Tribbett are veterans now.
Yeah.
To start with Maurice Adu, he's coming off an injury.
You don't know what you're going to get with him. It's a risky in your pocket too.
Yeah, it's a good chunk of money to pay him, but he is a great player, for MLS standard. To build a team around, if he is healthy, it depends on what to read, but it's I could see Brian Carroll getting picked up for that veteran, he's won a championship.
This is a guy I think in about 2 or 3 years will be a coach somewhere in the MLS.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely. So it could be like a transition thing. You bring this guy on, have him play for a year, learn, because we saw some players like, for example, when the Union first came in, they brought in a guy like Danny Califf, who was the first captain, and a lot of veteran leadership. Been there, won championships. Brian Carroll's been there, won championships. Played at a high level at Wake Forest, won a championship on the national NCAA level. So this is a guy is won on every level. So it could really, carry on to these teams that you're bringing in that have zero culture. Atlanta and Minnesota have no culture, so you want to bring in that guy that's been there, done that kind of culture.
Yeah, Minnesota's already they've been a team.
Yeah, they've been established, but
Atlanta has a. Tell you what, Atlanta Stadium's going to be great.
Oh, that's amazing. I've seen some of the renderings, and oh man, I can't wait to get down there for a game.
Yep. I believe it's a Mercedes-Benz dome. They're going to be sharing it with the Atlanta Falcons.
I love it. There's also some reports out. Sorry, I forgot to break down some of the other notable players. I jumped the gun. Some players other key notable players that are not protected. Robbie Keane is not protected. Landon Donovan. I don't see either of them getting picked up. I think it's one of those things where these guys might be retiring. Some players are listed as protected because they retired. You even had Steven Gerrard listed. I don't understand how it's even technically listed. He's not playing soccer anymore, dude.
Same with Connor Casey.
Yeah, it's like, come on.
Retired, but I think it's just a formality,
yeah.
Until they have to go through and actually have it, and then it pretty much wraps up their career.
Exactly. So, ask Landon Donovan because technically he just came out of retirement. So it's interesting, For Colorado, Jermaine Jones, I've heard some rumors he may want to go back to Germany, so we'll see how that all maps out, if he gets picked up. I know he's been having on and off injury problems, and so he might be a liability. You have on NYFC Frank Lampard. I mean, I'm an Atlanta team. I pick up Frank Lampard. This is a guy who's won big championships, and hey, you are a new team. You have to have a poster player, establish yourself, sell some jerseys, sell some seats. Frank Lampard, I think, is a guy who could do that for them.
I'd say 98% chance that he won't be playing in a league this upcoming year.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you're right, though.
Yeah.
They do need the guy who's...
That name, he's a household name. I mean, enough Americans know the name Frank Lampard now.
Right.
Looking on the Red Bull, Sean Wright Phillips is not protected, but he comes with a price tag. So that's another thing. You put players on there that, you don't protect them, but does the team really want to go after that kind of player that not superstar, but got superstar money?
Yeah, playing a little poker.
Yeah, exactly. And then the free agency will start at 5 p.m. So once the expansion draft's over and then the free agency starts, definitely interesting to see how that was. There was a couple of minor trades in MLS. Definitely worth checking out on MLSsoccer.com. Nothing too major, but just a couple minor moves.
A half-day window.
Yeah. Is that like what happens if it happens on daylight savings? You get that extra hour in there? It's
I don't know.
Half-day window. How does that work?
But that they have to wait a little while till it's official. Then they make the announcements for the league.
Okay. So, there's also some reports out there that Kirk Onfernero of LA Galaxy has been coaching their USL Pro team, that he may be named as the new coach. There is a press conference tomorrow that LA Galaxy has at 3 p.m. Pacific time, so that's 6 o'clock for us Eastern Standard Time Zone folks.
So it looks like he was in the Galaxy system for about
for a hot minute.
Couple years, 2 years. Got LA Galaxy 2, the USL club.
Yeah.
So it's good that you got a guy.
Guy.
A system guy, but I think his, I don't know exactly what he's going to do, but he knows the ins and outs of the club. And you got an established club. They don't have to reinvent anything. They replace parts. They have a machine going. So would he need to put in a different formation and redevelop?
I mean, LA's not a broken team. They're a team that is still every year considered a championship caliber type of team. So you plug in a guy that knows the system and knows the organization. So it's not a bad move. And also it creates, I think, a lot of positivity with other coaches in that system. There's a reward for being a loyal, good coach that, hey, you can build up instead of just bringing in the foreign coach or bringing in some guy off the street. It also goes, I think he has a relationship with a lot of these players. If you look at, he's been coaching in the LA Galaxy too. A lot of these young players that will be playing for MLS, he has a relationship with and knows their tendencies.
That's exactly what they need. They need a youth movement because all of their veterans are getting older.
Steven Gerrard, Steven Gerrard, Donovan, Robbie Keane, those guys are all.
Guys like Lorenowitz.
Yeah.
Philadelphia-born Jeff Lorenowitz.
There you go. So we're going to take a quick little break here, and after we come back from the break, we're going to open up the mailbag. We're going to go through some emails on the break. Hey, send us your emails, mailbag@worldsportshow.com. We'll hit them up. We're going to break it down. Got a lot of great questions to answer. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
This is Denise Adams, and you're listening to World Sports Show on WPPM 106.5 Philadelphia.
Last week on World Sports Show.
In studio guest, Adam Bruckner.
Very interesting. I don't know if you guys have been watching, Adam. I mean, John have been watching a lot of MLS playoffs, but it's just so interesting to think that Montreal had a 3-zip lead and then lose 7-5 on aggregate.
Yeah, I was able to watch Maryland play just a little bit in the NCAAs this year, and they had the same thing happen to them. They were playing Providence, and you would think a team could never blow a 3-goal lead because that team's got to be so much better than the other. But man, it's a sport of humans, and I know there's been some studies that say there's no such thing as momentum, but that's crap. You give up that first goal, and then you're like, all right, we're still all right. You give up that second goal, and you're thinking. It hurts so much more to lose a game you were winning big than to lose a game where it was close the whole way.
I know the feeling.
And you start to crap your pants a little bit, and you start to think, I don't want to make the mistake, and the other team starts to think, I got nothing to lose. We were losing this game 3-0, and we had a game when I was in high school. We were losing 3-0. The other team took all their best players out. 15 minutes left. We came back and we stole the game. We got into overtime and ended up we scored 3 goals in 15 minutes. And
jeez.
It's the only time you don't see that stuff happen in outdoor soccer.
And now, back to the WPPM studios in Philadelphia. This is the World Sports Show.
And welcome back to World Sports Show. Charlie Flo here with John Criscio here in the studios of Philly Cam on WPPM LP Philadelphia. Everybody listening here in Philadelphia, thank you for listening. And our friends out there on the interwebs, on the internet machines that you have, thank you for listening in on phillycam.org/radio/listen. So a lot of fans out there listening all over the time zones. Send us an email. We'll read it up. A couple pieces of women's soccer. We're going to break down a couple pieces of news. Some came out last week. Some came out today. The new league, the UWS, that started up last year, kind of was the idea that we lost the W League, so this kind of stepped in and filled in that void. But they announced the startup of four new teams, in the Midwest. It'll be Detroit Sun FC, FC Indiana, Fort Wayne United FC, and Grand Rapids FC. So it's good to see some of that Midwest flavor, getting some soccer out there. It was a very successful first year in this league, and hopefully this league will grow and grow and grow. And, hey, I'd love to see a Philadelphia team.
I mean, I'll tell you what, this is what I talk about quite often.
Yeah.
Soccer aside, if you did the tour of those four new teams, I would say that the food at the stadium is probably second to none to anybody in the league, those four cities.
Yeah.
Home cooking, Charlie.
Dude, that's Midwest. It's one thing about Midwest I've wanted to check out. Always wanted to get out to a game in Kansas City with the Chiefs or Sporting KC or FCKC in the Women's League. Dude, when they show some of those before and after shots, man, that's not just a turkey leg. It's like the entire, like a pig leg. Just eat the pig leg, man.
The Fort Wayne chili. I'm sure it's amazing.
I'd like a nice Saturday night game there, have a couple sodas before the game.
Right.
So, also another big news that hit kind of Monday night / early hours of Tuesday morning. Got a nice text message from our good friend Anna. She's got a really good deep connection with Mexico. She is from Mexico, so she always plugging us in on all the news there. She basically broke us the news before it broke that Liga MX, the Mexican league down in there in Mexico, is going to have a female team associated with all of its clubs. It's going to be basically U23 teams with allowing of 2 overage players and 4 underage U17 players. So basically it's going to be like their Olympic development type of team. But I mean, it's amazing because every single Mexican league team will have a female team.
Sharing resources is key.
Oh my gosh, huge. That's something that we've not done here in MLS. We only have 2 teams at MLS affiliation.
I mean, once that I found out that it was each team is associated with
that's awesome.
Liga MX, club. I think that's the deal breaker. You got resources, training facilities. If it's done right, it could be prosperous.
I mean, you have a lot of that true, grassroots movements in Mexico where you have like your Guadalajara, Club America, a lot of these power teams, and then you have a lot of the smaller teams, that have the homegrown players that, I mean, what a great idea, start reaching out to these communities and getting these young girls involved, especially when you fact that you said you have U17 players on the team.
Training.
Yeah, exactly. And they have the facilities. So from the players I've talked to with Portland and Houston that have a women's team that are part of the, MLS teams that own them, that there's none of that fighting to try to get, spaced. I mean, it's crazy to think that, I worked for Sky Blue last year and I was coaching college, and we were up at Georgian Court, and that's Sky Blue's locker rooms. They have their own little closet at Georgian Court. I mean, think about these NWSL teams at the highest level, women's professional soccer, and they have to share locker room spaces at colleges, like a D2 college.
Yeah, no bueno.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Well, where in Mexico, they're going to get top-notch facilities. The German leagues, the English leagues, they're already doing that. Look at Manchester City is a great model of how they're handling their women's team and done such great jobs with their men's team. So all eyes on Mexico. I applaud you, and I think it's actually awesome. They did it before U.S. Soccer did it. They beat U.S. Soccer. They beat U.S. to it.
Well, let's not go yet.
I'm not getting that excited, but I am. I'm saying, hey, U.S. Soccer, step up a little bit.
Right. Let's wait for it to happen first.
Well, I'm just hoping U.S. Soccer wakes up a little bit.
But the preview's great.
Yeah, looks good.
So
let's dip in to the old mailbag. So we have quite a few questions here to address. We have our first question from Sean from Center City, Philadelphia.
Within earshot, within listening area?
Come on down, Sean. Bring us a hot cup of coffee. If it was summer, I'd say bring me a cold iced coffee, but no, I could use a hot cup of coffee right now, Sean. Sean asks, I watched a lot of soccer this weekend, and it seemed like every game I watched went to PKs. Do you have an idea to alternative to PKs?
What do I think?
Yeah, what are you thinking? I'll break down what I think.
You can watch tennis. You can watch cricket.
I think he meant
That's an alternative. Do laundry. Make some chili.
MTV2.
An alternative to PKs, as in the. I'll take a stab at it. I don't know how much traction I'll get with the listeners out there, but
you got my attention.
Yeah, I got you. I'm going to say each different frame within first overtime, second overtime, you're allowed a new sub, a fresh sub or two. But I mean, I'm not a fan of ending a major game. You shouldn't win a trophy for winning a PK contest. That's just my opinion. I'm sure plenty of others disagree and, like the PK finale or like whatever, but I'm just not a fan of it.
Yeah. My I guess pitch at, I don't know if it'll catch a lot of traction either, is kind of what the NHL did with their 3v3 overtime. We've seen it and it becomes breakaway after breakaway. I say make it like 8v8 or make it 7v7 field players. Every 10 minutes, a player gets subbed off. I think you're forced to sub players off, so it really makes coaches think that. So every 10 minutes into the extra / overtime, whatever terminology you want to use, I really don't care, but you got to sub a player off every 10 minutes. I mean, that's my perspective. So eventually it'll come down to, if you're still tied, it'll be a 5-on-5, 4-on-40, huge field, but you get some players that can run.
Yeah, I mean, you just change the whole dynamic of the game. I mean,
it's going to come down to be pretty much like PKs.
Yeah. Is it skill or is it, fitness? That sometimes fitness does win the game.
Maybe have set pieces or something, but anything but PKs. I mean, write in. How about you fans out there? Next week we'll address this topic. You the fans write in with your suggestions.
That's right.
Best suggestion, you'll get a prize.
To end the trophy games. I mean, some games can get some regular season games ending in a draw. Would you rather see a PK or would you rather see everybody get a point and go home?
Yeah.
Would you rather see a 0-0 draw or would you rather see PK?
Well, I was thinking as the NHL, they got tired of people seeing ties. That's why they have decided to do the 3v3, and then they ended a shootout. But it's a little different, I think, in ice hockey because it's not a guarantee where you get about a 90% chance making a PK. In hockey, it's about, I'd say, 40% chance of making it.
Yeah, but the thing with hockey is you get a point for a loss. For going into a shootout, you get a point on your record.
Yeah, it's weird. You lost, dude.
A pat on the head.
Yeah, exactly. Next question comes from Hannah in Orlando. She writes in, is it easier for a high school senior to get a soccer scholarship compared to girls already in college looking to transfer to play at a different school? That's a stump question. I deal with that all the time in recruiting college players. That I look at high school players and I look at JUCO players, look at community college players, and honestly, if I have a choice, I'd like to get the player that's already played. I would rather give a scholarship to a player that I've seen play beyond high school and play at the next level. That's just me personally. I don't know if it's easier. I think it depends on each program and per coach.
Right. And, one thing you got to think about with the eligibility, are they going to have that year left? I mean,
yeah, it depends on what kind of JUCO they come from, what program they come, how much did they lose, or what are your needs as a program too? If this player's got that need that you need.
Well, is the player good? I mean, are they worthy of that spot? Like, coming out of high school, are they in on a scholarship? So it's a couple little variables there. I mean, I'm just generalizing as far as coming in, I think they're scouted, you're getting your coming out of high school, you're taking more of a risk than seeing the player play in a upper level. Yeah. So are they the star on the team there, or are they the star? Are they the captain? Are they coachable? Yeah. Do they have, what's their skill set? What position? We're talking about a keeper compared to a forward. Yeah. So there's a couple variables there, but I mean, we got to get a little bit more specific, but I mean, you could look at it either way. We could slice it up. So, I mean, it's a good question. It's a lot.
That's a great question.
It's a lot to think about.
Something that I have to deal with all the time of do we recruit JUCO? It's kind of at Philadelphia University. We have this incoming class that's kind of half JUCO, half high school. Right. And when I say high school, I kind of mean club. It's the high school is not an area that's scouted as much in the Philadelphia area, which still just scratches my head. That where I grew up in Virginia, if you wanted to play any type of college ball, you played high school ball. It was kind of the unwritten rule that clubs didn't really exist where I'm from Virginia. Soccer clubs just didn't exist.
Right. I mean, I think it's the structure,
Yeah.
like the city structure where, high school, if you're going to play, are you going to get the better training? Is the high school going to get funding?
Yeah.
So, in the city, I don't think they're throwing, city
No.
Philadelphia, you're not tossing money for a great high school program.
Nah. And a lot of it, too, is the dynamics of maybe you did come from an area that clubs weren't that big, so it made it very hard for you to get recruited because maybe you only played high school ball. So I think JUCO can be a really good step for a player. A year in college can really help them because majority of players at Philly U that we have that are from JUCO are foreigners. Most of our foreign players played JUCO because they didn't have that club system here in the U.S. They didn't have that plugged-in system where they're part of the boys' club or this club or that club that's kind of plugging the players in. So you can find some really good talent out there. So I think that's why we as a program kind of do a mixed balance of recruiting.
Yeah,
So.
then, there's, like I said, there's variables, that the kid could have been injured in high school.
Yeah,
or,
exactly.
Academic had a little snag. There's
Yep,
there's a
things
lot
that
of
held them
reasons.
up for ineligibility.
But, I mean, hopefully that answers your question that we threw about 30 more questions on a question.
Boom.
As usual.
Next question. So that was Hannah in Orlando, keeping it warm for us down in Orlando.
Yeah, look at that.
Yep. Randy in South Philly asked, with the in the MLS expansion draft tomorrow, what would you look for as a GM? So you're the GM of Atlanta or Minnesota. What are you looking for, John? You can be Atlanta, I'll be Minnesota.
Center back.
Center back?
Build around a center back. I mean, I think, historically, expansion drafts go after center backs.
Yeah, I'm thinking that. And then the next hit is a good holding midfielder. I'm looking for a defensive type of midfielder. You build on defense. I think if you're going to start an expansion team, you got to build around a defense. That's what got the Union success its first couple of years is a good, strong back line and middle line.
That's right. Any
So.
team, to be competitive, if you're weak in the back middle, you're done.
And I think a young
Sunk.
goalkeeper that doesn't have a lot of play time but has value that had a good college career because there's quite a few goalkeepers out there with some experience too. So I think you get a young goalkeeper and then you get like a Brian McKnight's in there. He's an experienced goalkeeper. Chris Seitz that was originally one of Philly's rookies, but guys like that have veteran leadership, and then a young keeper they can kind of build off each other.
Yeah.
You can start building up and grooming a keeper for the future, but put your veteran in there for the first half of the season. So nice question, Randy from South Philly. Next question will be from good old Eric from North Carolina. Should College Cup games be hosted with the school with the best record? Kind of about what we talked about earlier about with the MLS. So what do you think? College, because I think that what really sparked this question and really caught my attention was the College Cup was in Houston, but the stadium was empty. Looking about maybe a couple thousand there for each, college.
Yeah, how many... I mean, yeah, we go back to it compared to the MLS final. Do you want to
It's
have...
different because, you're talking college kids. They don't exactly have the finances and to hop on a plane.
Right.
So I think it's just college atmosphere, but they do it for bowl games. We always see college bowl games are hosted wherever, but that's a multi-million-dollar industry.
Yeah. I don't think we're there yet, but I'd rather see the climate right now. That's just personally.
Yeah, put it in a warm weather situation, So I think it can be debated either way. I personally want it to be at the better seeded team, but then you can't really have a true College Cup semifinal playoff type of thing.
That's right. Final
So,
four, yeah.
Yeah, you can't really have a Final Four. I think it's better to leave it at the, because you get the bidding process and the whole process of finding out that announcement, then it gives you a target to get to. So, but good question, Eric from North Carolina. Next question comes from Tom in Cherry Hill.
Tommy,
Cherry Hill. Should the NCAA use FIFA clock and sub rules? That's the odd thing about NCAA coaching is we have a clock that counts down to 0 and there's no added time. It just whistles. So it can be very interesting as a coach. Sub rules are really kind of quirky, but I don't know. What do you think? And then I'm going to add my 2 cents.
I don't think it should be using MLS or FIFA rules. I mean, I think it's fine the way they are for now.
Yeah.
It's the sub rule. You get subbed in the one half. You can't be subbed in.
Yeah.
It's one come in and out per half.
Yep.
And, the clock that counts the other way so to say. And the referee has discretion over the whistles, and it ends when it hits zeros on the clock, and the horn goes, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I actually like it the way it is. I think it's just that people, like the purists, don't like the idea of the clock, but a lot of people don't realize the clock does stop for dead plays. Like when you're subbing and the ball goes on, they do stop the clock.
Right. On the whistle, on the referee's whistle.
Yeah, exactly. So that thing there, you can go against that whole thing where the referee added the time on there. Well, the clock freezes, and I kind of like that better with the clock freezing and countdown. You know, as a coach, it's easier to visualize that when a referee holds up 5 minutes, well, is it really going to be 5 minutes? Because we've seen refs do it in 4. We've seen refs do it in 6 minutes. So it's kind of that weird thing where you don't exactly know. At least in college, we exactly know what we're going up against.
Right.
And if from an amateur point of view, you can't change the sub rule. We can't make it like pro or FIFA where it's 3 subs because you've got college rosters. You know, at Philly U, we had 28 roster players. You know, and there's times where, hey, you want to give this kid 10 minutes tonight. You know, and you can't do that in the pro level. Just know you're going to give a guy 10 minutes.
Right.
You know, it just won't work. And I think you have to look at it again. It's amateur. This is not professional amateur. It's not even club where you're developing for pro. These are college athletes, you know, first. You know, student athletes. So, good question. Just to remind everybody out there, you're listening to World Sports Show on WPPM LP Philadelphia. This is the World Sports Show with Charlie Flo and John Cristio, and we're going through the mailbag. Next question, Sam from Fishtown. Now that the NCAA and MLS playoffs are over, what kind of soccer do you guys prefer to watch?
Any soccer.
Yeah? Anything?
I was thinking about making an investment in that FIFA video game.
Oh, yeah?
But I know it's kind of a bad idea.
Why is it a bad idea?
It's a very bad idea. I would get nothing done.
Yeah.
I would sit up all night and play.
I think you meant like investment like you're Charles Schwab, like you're going to go buy EA Sports stock.
That'd be something.
Hey, John, I just bought it a couple months ago. I just need a second controller.
That's right.
Yeah, I'll bring that over that's how we're going to spend our New Year's.
That's
John and I
right.
don't do much. I think the last 5 years we've hung out on New Year's.
So
Something like that.
Yeah. Australian League is pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, Champions League, I mean, just wrapped up. But, I mean, for the winter, you name it. Whatever's on.
I think we're so spoiled as Americans that it's so interesting. I was watching the Manchester United game. I don't know why I'm drawing blank of who they played yesterday, but it flashes up on the bottom of the screen. This broadcast only available in the United States. So it does make you like, wow, we really have it made here when it comes to soccer. English might knock us out. Your league's not as good. I'm like, well, you can't even watch your own league, dude.
Right. You got to buy the package.
Yeah, so here, I mean, you've got NBC Sportsnet, and you got Fox doing Bundesliga, and then you've got, you know, different Telemundos doing the Mexican League, and then you got other Fox channels doing Champions League, and it's just it's an overload that I love. And even got even the BN network that's doing the Spanish leagues. I mean, you have options, man. You can flip between. Even if you're like an NFL fan in America, you can only watch a couple games at a time. Here, you got like 5 or 6 choices.
Yep.
So, good question, Sam from Fishtown. Next question comes from Tammy in Norwood. Thoughts on the Mexican League adding a women's league? I think we addressed that earlier. I think it's a great move, and it's something I'd like to see other CONCACAF teams do or CONCACAF federations do, because we want to see CONCACAF grow. I think when other teams get better, it only helps the U.S. push to get better too.
Right. You know, like we said before, let's wait and see how it rolls. But it still is basically an under 23. It's not a full-fledged, you know, league.
Yeah.
Premier type yet.
Yeah. So next question comes from Julian Center City. What is your favorite holiday movie?
Holiday movie.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Let me think. Put me on a spot. Well, I don't know what exactly my favorite holiday movie is.
There's got to be at least a top 5.
I got to, if I'm going off the cuff, I'd say I watch Elf every year, maybe 2-3 times.
That's a given. Yeah.
That's a given. I guess there you go.
Like the Rudolph the Red-Nosed, the animated version, you know, with Hermie and Bumble.
I guess I would consider myself more of a Grinch because I'm not really super fan of the holidays.
You are wearing green, too. He's wearing a green hoodie, everybody out there. I hope they can snap a quick photo of this guy.
I don't know if that's relevant, but
yeah.
But as far as holidays, you know, holiday movies are okay.
I like
cheesy.
Chevy Chase, Christmas Vacation. You
There
know,
you go. That ranks up. That's definitely my top 5.
you know, with whatever. I can't think of his name. The uncle.
Randy Quaid.
Yeah, Randy Quaid. I knew it was one of the Quaid. I don't know why I was going to say the other Quaid.
So
but
yeah, there it goes. That's
Crappers full.
yeah.
Even though I'm censoring myself radio.
yeah, but that's definitely one of my top. Easy there. Christmas Story kind of fell off a little bit.
It got overplayed.
Yeah.
They have these marathons on like your TBS, TNT, and like 24 straight hours of this movie, and it's like, I get it, man. It's a good movie, but it's got like scenes. I think that you can watch the scene. You could probably put together probably the best scenes of Christmas Story in about 15-minute YouTube package, and that'd be good.
Right.
You know? So, yeah, I guess Elf's always up there with me, and Christmas Vacation. So those are my top choices. So, but thanks, Julie, from Center City, and I hope you're keeping warm and enjoying your holiday movies. Looking at the next question comes from Sandy, and we're running out of time, so snuck your question. If I missed your question, we'll try to get to you next week, or we'll cover it next week. I'm playing at community college, but I want to play NCAA. What are some tips you give me to advance my career? So we got a player here that's playing at community college and wants to play NCAA.
I'll let you answer that.
Well, since I am the college coach and you put me on the spot, I think the big thing is getting footage of yourself out there. It's creating highlight reels, but not too long. I think the big limit is 10 to 15 minutes. You got to remember, coaches out there are dealing with, I deal with hundreds of emails, hundreds of requests. I go through tons of players. I don't have time to watch a 90-minute game. You know, not only do I want to see your highlights, but I want to see you in scenarios. You know, I have had players that just send me pure all their goals. I want to see your misses too. Hey, you're going to miss. I get it. I want to see actually a kind of like a combine video. I want to see you dribbling. I want to see somebody serving balls to you, different things where I see how your individual skills are untested. And then like seeing those same things of skills within a game. So, a good 10-minute package of you playing, good 5-minute highlight of you doing different drills. I want to see your shots. I want to see your passes. I want to see your ability to lob a ball and just your different distance and distributions, and just, how vocal are you? It's something I actually look for in games. Some players on the highlight reels, I can hear them being vocal, so that's something I really look out for. This is even creating a bio, a profile of yourself, and just reaching out, and I think another thing that really has helped me when I interview college athletes is versatility. I remember interviewing a player for a college coach a couple years ago, and he said, I only play right back. And I said, what do you think about playing, left mid? No, I only play right back. I said, well, I'm set. Well, that's what I only play. I'm like, well, if I'm set, I'm to you as a prospective college player. I tell you, I'm set on this position. You tell me I only play that position. You have to be willing to expand yourself and be available to play other positions.
That was my mistake. I said, I'm a striker.
He demanded big bucks, right?
Right.
That's why you went to Duke, right?
Yep.
How did that work out for you?
I turned it down because I wanted to play striker.
Yeah, sorry. I'm holdout. Like, dude, you can't really hold out on college, dude. You're going to age yourself out, dude. Your eligibility's going to be gone. First ever college holdout, right, John?
Let's go to blue shirt freshman.
We'll break down that term. So, but no, thank everybody for listening in the World Sports Show. We still got a couple minutes left here, and been an awesome show. And I know that there's a lot of the Christmas stuff going on and the holiday stuff, so we'll be definitely taking a few breaks here and there because I know you're going to be doing a big trip going and getting your national license down in Florida. So
that's right.
Where in Florida are you going to be, man?
Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Man.
NSCAA, national level diploma.
Man, I don't feel sorry for you, man.
45-hour course, 6-hour on-field test.
You're going to be on a nice field, though.
No problem.
You can come back with a nice little tan.
I don't know. I'm not a fan of the sun. Being out there that long, it's like
Florida.
Right.
So hanging out with the tired folks down in Fort Lauderdale, So, but no, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you for everybody for writing in your email questions. Appreciate everybody out there. Sandy, Julie, Tammy, Sam, Hannah, Eric, Tom, Sean, Randy, and everybody else that emailed. And thank you for your emails. Again, mailbag@worldsportshow.com. We'll be back here next Monday night on WPPM LP Philadelphia. I'm Charlie Flo. He's John DeCriscio. Same time next week. Peace.